In pre-colonial mythology from
Oh my
the
goodness.
region, the goddess of fertility, Lakabati, is described as a transgender woman.
And like when we say about these pre-colonial gods, there is no unified thing, as if this is not like the Greek pantheon in which, well, there is a group, but it varies island to island, tribe to tribe, region to region, people to people, and so there was never one set format of ideas and pantheon. So that's my issue when it comes to that, is because it was never concrete. It is kind of like drawing conclusion from hearsay, and obviously I believe in Jesus Christ, so I mean, like, none of that even matters. And so let's center the conversation around those who are LGBT, who have conservative leaning, like more traditional values, like even if they believe in God and struggle with God, right? And they just believe in like, hey, don't tread on me. Like, I'm not trying to do no pronouns, I'm not trying to change no bathrooms, I'm just trying to live my life. And I think there is a vast majority of LGB who just want to just be left alone and don't care about the pride, the scene, the sexualization, the activism, right? And so if I'm gonna bring this video into the conservative light, I think there is a good amount of voice in that. And so yeah. Hey yo, what's up you guys? So I'm coming to you with another video breaking down the Tabo with the One Down series as they celebrate Filipino American History Month. I'm wearing my Filipino LA, and so this episode they go into how do Filipinos really feel about LGBT folk, right? And you know, it was a few days ago, it was coming out day or whatever, and you know, we got to learn about on the interwebs a little uproar about Superman, Jonathan Kent, not Kal-El, Clark Kent, being bi. You know, we also hear spoilers, we already knew about this, that they're gonna also do Tim Drake, Robin, also being gay, you know, all bi really, and so we already heard about this. So there's a lot of geisha going on, so again, this topic kind of follows along with that, kind of like a week behind schedule, but hey, we're gonna go and check out what they gotta say and see if I agree, disagree, and possibly go about it. So let's go check it out. With that said, shall we begin? But first, of course, if you're new to my channel, what is up? My name is Mitch, Maverick Mitch, all the Mitches, and pretty much I like talking about what I like talking about. So, current events, reviews, pop culture within the scope of entertainment, culture, and purpose. So, TV, movie reviews, social pull-out commentary. Be sure to check out all those videos as you're finishing this video. Again, also quick with disclaimers, you know, as I do this One Down series, breaking it down, just in case this is the first video that you're watching, my friend is the host, Sapphire Sandalo. We dance together and everything. So again, this isn't anything about One Down, this isn't anything about Sapphire. This is more just a critique or just commentary, right? And so I may or may not agree because I haven't seen this video, so this is also a pure reaction video. But actually I saw the first 5 seconds of it as I was prepping this video, and they were talking about like Filipinos only care about LGBT folk within the Filipino community if they're celebrities. You know, just off the bat, like if we're just gonna go with that topic, I think I'm gonna probably agree with this. This video is probably gonna agree with the most, because I do feel like Filipinos are very conservative, very traditional, and so it does make sense that, you know, unless the LGBT folk is on a pedestal, on a limelight, on like something famous, that, you know, especially if they can get perks out of it, it's kind of like, okay. But like if normal Tito have a kid that is LGBT, like it's kind of like, I wouldn't say like low down or hush hush, but I mean, for the most part, it's not as talked about, right? And so I think that there's experiences on both sides. I think there is people who have LGBT that is like totally open with their family, and other ones who are kind of not, right? And so it just kind of depends, right? And so yeah, I think so. We're gonna go into this topic. It's not really long, it's only 4 minutes long, and so we'll see if they're gonna talk about this. I will be surprised if they don't bring out Filipinx. That's so 2020. Just kidding. But yeah, we'll see what else they gotta say, and then we'll get into it to have more discussion. And with that said, let's get into it.
It's okay to be gay and Filipino, but only if you're a celebrity. From social media influencers like Bretman Rock to TV personalities like Boy Abunda and Vice Ganda, our titas love seeing LGBTQ celebrities on the screen. But how many of us still have loved ones that can't bring their true selves to family gatherings, or live in fear of facing violence with no guarantee of justice, protection, or even support from the community? After all, in 2021, state legislatures across the U.S. had a record of over 100 bills introduced to restrict trans rights. Internationally, 350 trans people were killed in 2020 alone. And this doesn't even paint the full picture, because violence against trans people is often underreported. So, Filipinos love LGBTQ folks when they're entertainers, but do they show the same love for LGBTQ folks in their personal lives? I'm Sapphire Sandalo, and this
What up,
is
Sapphire?
Tabo, where we talk.
Alright, so interesting already from the start, and it feels like they're gonna go a lot with the T, right? And I think that's interesting, especially if you follow a lot of the conservatives or right-leaning libertarians on the right. You know, you got your Rob Smith, your Brandon Strzok, your Arya Scarlella, I can't pronounce her last name, even Blair White and Dave Rubin and all that stuff. And so, you know, the conversation when we talk about like LGBT stuff, it's always now in 2021, like post 2015, it's always been pushing towards the T rather than the LGB side. And so it's interesting if they're just gonna go straight into the T side rather than just going with the LGB side, you know? And so yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see what they're gonna take is, and so yeah.
Real. The Philippines actually has a deep LGBTQ history. In pre-colonial mythology from the Luzon region, the goddess of fertility, Lakabati, is described as a transgender woman. The Tausug people in Mindanao believe in people who exist in between male and female genders. And what about the word bakla? Fam, it's not that simple. For multiple indigenous ethnic groups within the Visayan region.
Sorry, I'm just gonna pause right there because like I have such a disdain with the pre-colonial gods and all that stuff they're trying to do, especially when it comes to the Aswang project. For those who don't know, it was a white liberal who was doing it, and so like even the Filipino community was attacking Aswang project because pretty much the whole idea of like, oh, we're decolonializing our colonial mentality, and then you have this white person like mansplaining this whole situation about it, and so like there was an uproar with the Aswang project talking about all of these pre-colonial gods, and so yeah. Little rant.
Women not only existed, but held high positions of spiritual power. Because this was threatening to the Spaniards' machismo beliefs, bakla arose as a term that claimed switching between genders was temporary and not normal. And
I now I need to look into Kirby and all that stuff. He's like one of the Filipino historians that actually falls on the left, but at least is a little bit more real rather than I feel like this is like straight up like BuzzFeed type shit, BuzzFeed Manilas type shit, like Rapplers type shit. I don't know if this, like, I'm just gonna take with the premise that what they're saying is true because I can't even back this up right now.
over time, under increasing Western influence, the meaning of bakla changed and became a catch-all phrase to describe the whole LGBTQ spectrum. This is why so many people have different definitions of the word or use it in different ways, because the word itself has a complex history. With our complicated LGBTQ history being erased, our modern-day understanding of the topic becomes more confused. For example, nearly all adult Filipinos agree that homosexuality should be accepted by society. And in 2016, Geraldine Roman became the first openly trans Congress member to serve in the Philippines. Yet the LGBTQ community still lacks basic rights. Despite over 20 years of attempts, including Roman's recent efforts to revive it, Congress still hasn't passed the SOGI bill, which grants
this is another thing that I'm confused. Like, are they gonna talk about, like, the Philippines and stuff? Like, obviously they are, but I mean, like, cool. But also, One Down kind of represents, like, the Filipino-American, North American community of Filipinos in the diaspora. So it's interesting that they're talking about things in the Philippines.
LGBTQ protections against discrimination. And this lack of acceptance is felt by LGBTQ Filipinos all over the diaspora, from the US to Canada to the Middle East. However, Filipinos in the LGBTQ community are continuing to fight for equality. Through hundreds of Pride Month celebrations happening across the globe to more LGBTQ-centric love stories such as Game Boys and Pearl Next Door, LGBTQ Filipinos are unapologetically making spaces for their own representation. We've seen a rise in LGBTQ creatives, filmmakers, and storytellers. Take singer Jake Zyrus, who is breaking barriers for the trans community by openly expressing his identity on Filipino TV. And Cataluna Enriquez, who will be the first transgender Miss USA contestant, adding to an already impressive resume as a designer, businesswoman, healthcare worker, and model. So to all the LGBTQ folks who are forging their own paths, you've shown us that there's no one way to be LGBTQ. We see you, challenging societal norms and past expectations, celebrating your chosen family and loved ones, and navigating how to be LGBTQ while being an ate, tito, or lola. History shows that LGBTQ folks are not a trend. They've existed before the Philippines was a country and will continue to exist long after.
Cool. Alright, so breaking all of that down, right? It was a short video. I thought they were going to go into it a little bit more, you know. I think it was cool, you know, but I thought they were going to go more deep and heavy, you know. I thought they were going to bring out stories of like, oh, this was hard for me, people coming out and all this stuff, but they really didn't. They just kind of like said like, hey, this is kind of like ideas in the past. I hate it because they're talking about foreign ideas like two-spirit people and now bring it in as it applied to Filipinos. And like when we say about these pre-colonial gods, there is no unified thing, as if this is not like the Greek pantheon in which, well, there is a group, but it varies island to island, tribe to tribe, region to region, people to people. And so there was never one set format of ideas and pantheon. So that's my issue when it comes to that, is because it was never concrete. It is kind of like drawing conclusion from hearsay, and obviously I believe in Jesus Christ, so I mean, like, none of that even matters. And so yeah, okay, so going with that, I'm seeing a lot of the comments in their videos, you know, there's people like, hey, thanks very much for doing this, it's okay to be gay in the Philippines and all that stuff. And I think that's an important note to have. And, you know, when we come into 2021, you know, things have gone a long way, you know, and for the most part, yes, I think I agree with the premise that Filipinos only like gay people, LGBT, if they're celebrities. But I think people have been growing to that notion that, okay, well, gay people exist type of thing, and, you know, like like all that stuff. I think there's gonna be more issue with the T side. More issue with the ones who are more woke in their ideology, rather than just straight up LGB, you know, LGB, yeah. And so, you know, and one aspect of that is that there's one person commenting here, like, this person says, I'm gay, our community is kind of too sexual at times, remember to wear protection and don't have many sexual partners, have some class. And, you know, I think that's really important to talk about, because when I look into this subject, right, and Filipinos, LGBT, and all this other stuff, you know, because like I mentioned like Blair White, I mentioned Dave Rubin, Rob Smith, Brand Strzok, Ariel, Scarella, and so you have all of these right-leaning, if not right of center, independent, libertarians, whatever you want to call them, non-woke type thing. And so I think that's where I draw. I think that's where I want to bring this video to, in which, you know, because of the sexual revolution, and because there is things on a lot of things on the left with hypersexualization and all that stuff, and I think there is a good portion of Filipinos, and not just Filipinos, but good portion of LGBT that don't even care about all this stuff. They just, like, whatever happened to just let me be, like, let me be me, and that's very like, don't tread on me, right? And so I think there is a good portion of people who are conservative leaning who are LGB, right? And so that's where I kind of go into like this idea of pride, this idea of humility, because, you know, Michael Knowles mentioned this, and I like him without even saying it, you know, like I think there's a lot of the 7 sins that goes around, you know. and you know, lust and pride, envy, you know, like that's was real in the past and that is real today. And the fact that, you know, like, let's go with Pride Month. Why does it have to be Pride? Like, it couldn't be Heritage Month? Could it be LGBT History Month? No, they go with Pride. And I think that's an issue, especially for those who are Christian conservatives or just like conservatives altogether. Why does it have to be Pride? Like, isn't there humility? Isn't there like, it's like over sexualization? And again, I think that's where the issue comes from, right? And like, why do you have to have, like, I'm not saying all LGBT are all non-monogamous or polyamorous or whatever, but like, if you're gonna, I think it would be more palpable, especially for more traditional conservative people, if you were just monogamous, you know. And I think there are people like that, you know. I think there is a good amount of people who don't believe and subscribe into what a quote the scene or the community that they say, whatever. And so there are just people who just want to live their life, you know. They just want to have their significant other and just be about themselves, right? And so there isn't about like all of this woke ideology, because when it comes down to it, like a lot of the people on the left that espouse all of this stuff, it's like the more activism, right? And especially more activism on the T side, because really when we look into it, like, unless someone tells me otherwise, like, especially in America and maybe in Canada too, like, LGB, yeah, good. You, like, there's nothing really to fight for. You got TV, you got all of this representation, you got all in the whole month of June, you know, you got like all of this changing of icons just to represent. And so I think, and Ben Shapiro will make this point, like for the most part, y'all good, you know. And he also said like Republicans don't really care about that. And even Jack Murphy on Tim Katz IRL, as soon as the Republicans were kind of like not fighting against like LGBT marriage equality, it kind of make it more palpable for people leaving the Democrat Party, you know. And so I think that's the thing I kind of want to wrap up in this video, is that, you know, there is room for LGB, mostly the T side. Like, you got to be at least, okay, so there is very much room for LGB on the conservative side. Maybe like even the Christian conservatives will still have to take issue. Some of them are like, I will love you, but I don't love what you do type thing. And I think that's the most of Christian conservatives can be. Obviously, you're gonna have like your Westboro Baptists that'll be like, gays go to hell type thing, and obviously don't have to associate that, and a lot of people don't, right? And so, but it's a T side that also has an issue, just because you can, like, my line is kind of like Blair White, like as long as you're transsexual, like obviously there's transvestite who are just like crossdresser, and then you have transvestite, you have transvestite crossdressers that just kind of like, it's a performance, right? And then you have transsexuals like Blair White, who just transition male to female to male type thing. And then now you have the transgender, which is like gender fluidity, non-pan, and all of this like 27 genders, 28, 29, 30, 100 genders, and all this stuff. That's where you get that's a lot of crazy right there, right? And I was talking to a friend, he believes that at least there's 4 genders: male, female, trans man, trans woman type thing, and at least I can understand that type thing. And so, point being, in all of this little rant going on, is that one, there is room for LGBT on the conservative side, and then 2, like, again, not everyone is going to be kosher, but there is room, especially when anyone who's right of AOC is considered far right. It involves everyone, right? And so, and then 2, like, let's center the conversation around those who are LGBT, who have conservative leaning, like more traditional values, like even if they believe in God and struggle with God, right? And they just believe in like, hey, don't tread on me. Like, I'm not trying to do no pronouns. I'm not trying to change no bathrooms. I'm just trying to live my life. And I think there is a vast majority of LGB who just want to just be left alone and don't care about the pride, the scene, the sexualization, the activism, right? And so if I'm gonna bring this video into the conservative light, I think there is a good amount of voice in that. And so yeah, I think that's it. So I was looking at my subs and I hit 1,000. What is up? Thank you so much. And so so I'm gonna do another video celebrating that, and so I'm really happy to do this video, and so thank you so much for all the support. As my phone is ringing and my alarm is going on, so yes, thank you so much. Again, I'll continue the discussion in a next video, saying like how thankful I am and talking about a 1,000 sub video. And with that said, thank you for all the support. See you in the next video. You can follow me in my Instagram at HeyMitchMitch, and see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace, peace, peace. Be with you. E come spirito tuo.